booktube. I figured since I was doing a rebirth of my channel that I would go ahead and do a book tag today along with the events video that I just did. So I saw just today the Mild Rumpus did a book tag. I don't believe it was his. I do believe it was someone else's. I will find out, and I will put both of them in the description at the bottom so that you can go and watch their videos as well. But it's the library tag. And so there are questions for if you go to the library and then questions for if you don't go to the library. So anyone can do this tag. So the first question is, how often do you visit your library? I probably visit my library maybe 2 to 3 times a month. Usually I will reserve books for like a book club or something like that, because I have plenty of books to read at home. So if it's just mood reading or anything like that, unless it's like a specific need for a book, I usually don't go to the library for it. But typically the 2 book clubs that I'm part of, I don't own the book already. So I'll reserve the books, they come in, I go and I pick them up, and then I return them. So about 2 to 3 times a month is about how often I visit the library. I would go every week because there's a, on Wednesdays, there's like a kids class that my son could go to. But the problem is that our schedules, we wake up so much earlier in the morning throughout the week for me and my husband to go to work. And so my son wakes up super early, earlier than like the typical toddler. And so by the time these classes are starting for his age group, it is his nap time. So unfortunately he cannot currently go to those. So we tried one time and I was like, no, yeah, never again. That was a bad idea. So unfortunately it would be a lot more often if it wasn't for the scheduling problems. So number 2, are you a card holder for more than one library system? Yes and no. So I only hold the card for my library here in my hometown. They actually did just open a sister branch, so there are 2 libraries that my card will work at. However, my library is connected to a library network that's kind of across the whole state. And so I can put a book on hold. If my library doesn't have it, then I can put it on hold from a different library in that network, and then they will send it to my library, and then I can rent it from my library. So it's really cool. I don't know how common it is for other states to have anything like that, but I think they should. I don't see why the libraries can't work together like that. Like it's invaluable, because so far actually none of the books for the classic science fiction book club that I'm a part of have been at my local library. I have had to reach out to the network to get those books, and otherwise I would either have to go spend my money on them or I wouldn't be able to participate in the book club. So it's very, very cool, and I feel very privileged to have that option. So number 3, what percentage of what you read comes from the library? Well, like I said, it's typically only 1 or 2 books a month that I really rent from the library for my 2 book clubs. And I read about 3 to 5 books a month. So I am not a math person. Do the math. So that's what? 30 to 40%, I would guess. I don't know. That sounds right to me, but again, I read books. I don't do math. I don't do Sudoku. It's not those aren't my hobbies. It used to be an enormous amount less. For quite a few years before I became part of the book clubs, I was really just reading what I owned. And I love having a lot of books around. Like, for me, they're not just entertaining, they're kind of like like a security blanket. So like if I enjoy a book, I don't just get rid of it or pass it on. I kind of tend to keep it. And I buy more books than I could probably ever finish. I don't know how many I have, but I have quite a collection, because they're also like how I like to just decorate my house. Like I just have lots of bookshelves. So so before, for a while, before recent years, it was almost 0% of what I read came from the library. When I was a little kid, I still lived at home. We lived like less than a block from the local library. And so I was there constantly renting books. And we didn't have the money to buy books almost ever. If I got a book, it was because it was a holiday like Christmas, my birthday, if Scholastic Book was having a book fair at my school, maybe my parents would give me some money to get a book. But other than that, I did not spend money on books. I had a library card and I could walk or ride my bike there. That was good enough. So probably back when I was a little kid, like I would say 90% of what I read came from the library. I don't know if that maybe feeds into why I'm so obsessed with having books now. Because I just didn't buy a lot, and then I didn't keep a lot of my books, because I would always like go and take them to half price books, hoping that I would get money back to be able to get a new book, because I didn't have any other way to get them, any other money to get them with. So, excuse me. So like I said, I don't know if that maybe feeds into my obsessive compulsive disorder to own and keep all my books now, but let's see. Oh, do you rent audiobooks or ebooks? I don't rent them or use them in any shape or form. I had a Nook that one of my grandmas, she had before, and then when she upgraded to, I think, a Kindle or something like that, she gave it to me. And I had it for a little bit. I used it, but I couldn't get past the fact that it like didn't have pages. If I wanted to read like a nonfiction book and like skip to like look up something in the index or the contents, you can't do it nearly as easily on an ebook as you can like a real book. So it's just kind of a fancy paperweight at this point. So I don't ever really read ebooks. Probably the only thing that I read digitally is fan fiction. That's about it. And then audiobooks, I wish so ardently that I could get into listening to audiobooks, because I would be able to get so much more reading done. But unfortunately, my brain works where if it's just being said to me, I start daydreaming, and then I'll come back in and I'll be like, wait, who are these characters that we're talking to? Or like, wait, who died? Like, I try really hard several times, and I just can't do it. And I am so envious of the people that can, because they always like outpace me on like how much they can read in a month, because they're listening to a lot of them. And I try and I just can't. I even like, I'll be listening to a YouTube video like when I'm cooking or something like that, and then I'll realize like I have to backtrack like several like minutes or seconds or whatever to hear whatever that person just said, because my brain was like, let's think about this. So yeah, it's a struggle. So I really wish that I could get into audiobooks, but it hasn't worked out for me yet. Did you attend story time as a kid at your local library? I think I did. I don't remember a lot of it. I know that they had it there, but I don't recall going to a lot of them. I know I at least went to like a few. But I remember more so like the story times that we had at our school library, growing up. Those are like pretty vivid. I remember like the little like cubby area thing that they had for us and everything, that we would go and sit in with the librarian and they would read to us and stuff. And I remember that. But I don't think I attended a lot of the other ones when I was growing up at like just the local library. So, let's see. Sorry. I normally wear glasses, but I hate how they make my face look. So that's why I'm like squinting at this. Do you rent movies or video games from the library? Or have you ever rented a movie or video game from the library? No video games. I've never rented video games from the library. Back when I lived at home, we did rent a few movies, but not in my adult life. I haven't. No. Oh, have you ever had to pay a fine for a late library book? Ooh. Back when I was a little kid, I did. Yes. A couple times, I think. But as an adult, no. For several reasons. One, I have my own car now, and I am better at remembering that things are due rather than as a child. But then also, again, I am very privileged that the library that I belong to, they don't do late fines as long as you return the book sooner or later. So back the year that I had just given birth to my son, I had some books that I had, have a brand new baby in the house. Your mind thinks of very little else other than keeping them alive. And I totally blanked that I had them. I had stuck them somewhere and just out of sight, out of mind. And so got a notification from the library that they were late, and so they warned me a few times, and I just kept being like, I'll get to it, or like, I'll get to it, whatever. It was terrible. I literally just didn't care about anything else that was going on outside of my house at that point. Just cared about my baby. So finally they were like, you need to return these or you're going to be fined the pay what they had to pay for the books. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I should probably dig those up then. So I got them and returned them, and that's when I found out that my library doesn't actually like charge fines as long as you actually do end up returning the books sooner or later. So I really lucked out. I have not made it a habit, so since then I've been really good about returning my books on time. Yeah, because I understand, like, those aren't my books. They're everyone's books. They're the community's books, and I'm hurting other people if I'm not making them. No one like needed them or wanted them. It wasn't like they were on hold by anybody else. But irregardless, that's not an excuse to be just keeping library books, especially if you're not reading them. Like, I wasn't doing anything with them. Anyway, do you attend any special events, groups, or book sales? Back to what I said at the beginning, we probably would attend more events if the scheduling wasn't so terrible for my son's nap time. I have not done any of the in-person book clubs, mostly because none of the books interest me. They're not something that I want to read or are on my TBR already, and so I just don't go. I have been to book sales, especially back when I was living at home and everything. I've only been to one within current time at this new one that I now belong to, because I don't live in the same town that I grew up in. So, excuse me. So I've only ever been to one book sale then, and that wasn't on purpose. I like walked in, I didn't even realize they were having one. And but they are having one this weekend. So I haven't told my husband yet. He'll find out when he watches this video. So sweetie, if I ask, hey, can I go to the library? I'm kidding. I don't have any money to spend on books right now. Okay. Oh, have you given or taken a book from a little free library or a book box or a book swap? I have a weird thing about the little free libraries. I always want to put a book back if I take a book. And unfortunately, every time I kind of stumble upon these little free libraries, I don't happen to have like a book that I'm trying to get rid of with me. I do need to make a point of like going back to them, because I do have books right now that I'm just sitting on, because I would rather give them to a little free library than half-price books, because I have learned half-price books give you like jack shit worth what you paid for the books or what they're going to charge someone for the books, which I understand. They're a business, they have to make their money, but I would rather give them to someone for free if they're going to enjoy them than to give them half price books for pennies and then them sell it for whatever. So yeah, I have not. There is one at our local park that has like kids books and stuff in it, and so sometimes when I'm there with my son, we'll take a book out and we'll go to like one of the picnic tables and like look at it and read it, but then we put it back because again, I have a few kids books, but not like a lot because we try to keep them for him. But I have a few kids books that I'm willing to like take and give to someone else, and then it just slips my mind. It's not the first thing I think of when I think of going to the park with him. So sooner or later I'll get there and I'll do a swap. Does your librarian know you by name? Absolutely not. I am not a chit chatter or like a small talk type of person. I don't seem like it, but I'm very introverted. And so I don't go out of my way to be outgoing and talk to people. So kind of unless they do, I don't. And typically the librarians are like, they just take the book, they scan it, they scan my card, and then like, have a nice day. Like, not a lot of the librarians at my library are very chatty either, which is fine. It's fine with me. But no. And also, again, I don't go often enough, I think. And when I do go, I don't actually see the same people over and over again. Like it's usually different people every time I go. I don't know if they have a high turnover rate or if they just have that big of staff, but because I don't like go on like the same day at the same time. Like I don't have a schedule of when I go. So I'm sure they have schedules that they follow because that's a job. But I haven't noticed that anybody is like the same person. So I don't know. But yeah, so that's my library tag. I don't know enough booktubers to just be throwing out names to tag people. So if you're watching this and you feel like you want to do this, go for it. But I'm not gonna go out of my way to tag anybody specifically. So but again, I will put the link to the Mild Rumpus, and then whoever started the original tag, because like I said, he got it from someone else. I'll put the links to their videos down below so that you guys can find them and watch the original videos. So yeah, all right. So I think I'm enjoying this version of making videos a lot better. I feel way more free than having to worry about editing later with the stop motion. Stop motion, before you do it, you think like, oh, okay, yeah, it takes a while. But then you do it and you're like, holy shit, that takes a long time. Like, no wonder it takes, years for them to finish these stop motion animation movies. Like, it is unreal. And they're doing a lot more motions than me. And even then, I was like, no, not happening. Can't do it. So anyway, enough blabbing. Thank you for sticking around to the end of the video. Like I said, if you feel like you want to do this tag, that would be great. Yeah. Have a good one, guys.